Welcome back to the Real Slim Fatty Show. I am your host, Fatty Kawatma, and today I am stoked to have a friend from across the pond, Reza Hooda. It's awesome to have you on, man. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Fatty. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. So real quick, would love to hear a little bit of your background, introduce yourself, and then we'll kind of jump right into it.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm an accountant in practice for my sins. So I run my own accounting firm, but I've managed to finally get it to run without me. So I spend most of my time these days mentoring and coaching other accountants to help them to grow their firms, to make more money and free up their time so that they too can have a firm that runs without them. Because it is something that has been quite difficult in the making, because when I first started, I practiced at PwC. I hope you don't mind me going into a bit of an intro. I always wanted to do something on my own. I wanted to be an entrepreneur, business owner. I never quite had that harebrained idea, though, into developing some kind of business. So 5.5 years with PwC, I had the itch and wanted to leave and set something up. I had a conversation with my father-in-law, and he was actually running an accountancy practice, and he was looking at selling. So we got talking, and long story short, I decided to kind of buy into the practice. It was a small traditional practice based on the south coast of the UK in Southampton. I was in Birmingham, kind of in the middle of England at the time, working for PwC. Decided to, take a big loan out, make the move, and thought, how difficult can this be? I trained at PwC. I know everything there is to know. Surely running a small practice will be easy. Far from it, although I was, a good accountant, I was a very novice business owner, because they don't teach you how to run an accountancy business when you do your accountancy training. Nobody teaches you how to price your services. Nobody teaches you how to win work. Nobody teaches you how to lead and manage a team. So you end up just winging it. And I didn't get very far. So the first few years were pretty tough, not knowing what to do. One client would come in, two would leave. I was thinking that we had to charge based on the hour, because that's what PwC did. So, profits weren't very high either. I was trading my time for money, and things were pretty bleak until I came across a mentor, and I came across value pricing, which led me into the world of actually learning from others and realizing that actually I need to invest in myself to become a better business owner, to ultimately do the best for my clients, my team, and my family. And through that journey of self-development, learning from others, learning how to price, learning how to sell, learning all those business skills, then enabled me to implement what I was learning, start to get results in my practice, and got it to a point where I was able to then, make it profitable, have a team in to run it, and now have a marketing system that generates leads on autopilot. So I can now coach and mentor other accountants to hopefully do the same. So that's kind of my journey into where I am today. And that's probably how you come across me on LinkedIn, sharing content for accountants. So
No, I absolutely love that. There's about 20 things that you said there that I want to dive into. But I think one of the more important things is I always hear accounting firms and accountants so scared to raise their prices. And they're scared to change any type of, we've done it before. We've always done it this way. My clients won't say yes. They won't agree to it. How do you go about explaining to accountants it is okay to raise your prices, and it is okay to fire clients that don't want to pay your new pricing? How do you go about that?
Yeah, so it tends to be a mindset issue that, and it's natural. It's natural for us to have these kind of the limiting beliefs in our mind that actually prevent us from wanting to increase our prices. And they're primarily driven by just the way our brain is. Our brain is designed to avoid any sort of discomfort. Your brain is designed to keep you safe. And increasing prices is not safe, because there is that potential fear that what if the client goes crazy? What if the client leaves? So that fear of rejection, and that, is kind of ingrained in our minds that, from when prehistoric times that, if you left the tribe, that's it, you were going to die, right? And it's the same psychology that's embedded in our brains. And raising prices brings about these sort of fears. So what we have to do to overcome that is actually start to rewire the way we think. And if we rewire the way we think and replace those limiting beliefs with more positive reinforcing beliefs, then we get to realization that actually, when we actually start this exercise, that, clients on the whole are going to be fine with it. And if you actually do the numbers, because with accountants, if you show them numbers, put it into an Excel spreadsheet for all your clients, put them in there, put what they should be paying, right? And do the numbers, that even if you were going to increase your prices across the board by 20%, you could afford to lose more than 20% of your clients and still make the same amount of money. Now, clearly, all of your clients are not going to leave. So just trust the process, plot it on an Excel spreadsheet, see what would happen, and give yourself that confidence there. Okay, even if, a fifth of my clients left, I'd still be making the same money, but with less work. And through that kind of realization, that logical realization that actually, this is something that you should be doing and ought to be doing, and the worst case scenario is not going to unfold, and showing, examples and success stories of other accountants that have done it and got results, that then gets them to the mode of trying it, seeing the results, and then taking that momentum to carry on doing it through the rest of the practice.
I absolutely love that. I think that's super tactical. And a lot of the firms that I talk to are funny because they always say, well, I review pricing once a year. So we already did that and I can't. And I'm like, what is wrong with you guys? Why don't you understand? You can call up your client anytime and say, hey, this is our new pricing. These are our new offerings. These are our new services. You're not stuck in stone when you have pricing set for your clients. And it's not a once a year thing. It's a constant thing because your skill set needs to evolve for your clients. Your clients don't expect you to never change your services, and their businesses change, especially over a year. Their needs change and they should change. And if they don't, that's a different story. But it's just so funny how many firms are like, well, I can't do it now. I'll do it 6 months from now, 9 months from now. It's like, who knows if you'll have that client in 6 or 9 months, and you're foregoing so much opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think nowadays, because typically, what used to happen back in the day, and many practice owners may still be doing it like this, is that pricing is in their head and they become the bottleneck to say, if the new client comes to them and say, what's the price? They'll come up with a figure out of thin air, right? Yeah. And say, this is the price, which means it's very difficult to go and revisit that price because it's not really based upon any particular scope, mechanism, system, anything like that. So nowadays we have the ability through software to actually price the value in a systematic way. And I talk about this in my book in chapter 3, actually systemizing the pricing of value. And the way you can do that is, I do this live on a prospect call. So I'll have a meeting with a prospect. If they're a good fit, I'll bring up the software. I'll ask them a series of questions, go through the size of their business, their turnover, their number of transactions, how many bank accounts they have. So actually systemizing what makes this job really involved. Because we don't want to be charging by the hour, and everybody hates being billed by the hour. It's not good for you. It's not good for the client, because time is not what we sell. We are selling a result, a solution, peace of mind. We're selling an outcome. We're not selling our time. So how do we get around selling by time? We have a pricing system, which then gives the client a fixed fee based upon the nature of their business. So scope it out and ask them those questions, which the beauty of a system is that enables you, to ensure to give different prices to different clients, depending upon their size, their complexity, their risk, how they want to work with you, because different clients value things differently. Just like some people value going business class and some don't, even though they could afford it. Some people are happy to pay the premium to skip the queues when they go into a theme park or, getting into a hotel or wherever. They're happy to pay a premium for the privilege. There are people out there who are happy to pay for convenience, for speed, for access to somewhere at a higher level. And if you can have a system which basically asks each client what they value, the scope of their business, give them a price, so that you have something that when things change, 3 months down the line, that client's, their payroll has gone from 10 team members to 20 team members. If you had that defined within scope and gave them a price, it's very easy to then say, oh, yeah, I noticed that you've taken on 5 team members. Your direct debit, monthly payment for this month is going to go up by $100. It's very easy to do when you have that system in place. When you don't, then the client doesn't know how you've worked out your fee, and therefore it's very difficult for you to revise that. And more importantly, move away from being the bottleneck. So what you want to be doing is you want to move into that business owner role, meaning that you need to have systems that your team can follow. And pricing is one of those systems you need to have in a practice to be able to give your team a system, say, this is the system, you can follow it, so they can price new clients, they can reprice existing clients too.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. Systemizing your offerings and systemizing your pricing, systemizing your firm in general, because then you systemize your clients. I think one of the biggest things is having good clients. There's so many firms that I talk to and they're like, oh man, I hate dealing with this one client, or it's like, systemize it. When we look at our go-to-market strategy, we identified we want firms that are between 5 and 50 staff accountants, team members, prioritize advisory services, and make over $1 million a year. That's a very, very specific set of people. And we know when we talk to a firm that has that structure, well, they're going to be a great partner and we're going to be a great partner for them. A lot of accountants don't necessarily systemize who they take on as a client. A lot of them will turn down business simply because they don't have the time, or they look at it and they're like, I can't sign on any more people. But they're so ingrained on, I'll just take whoever I can, fill my plate up, and then move forward. Every single accountant in the world will always tell you they don't have enough time. But they have so much power around that, right?
Absolutely. And usually it's down to pricing. They're charging by the hour. There's only so many hours in the day. They want to make more money, but they've got no time. So, it's moving away from charging by the hour and actually realizing that clients aren't coming to you for your time. They're coming to you for a result. Work out what that result is, work out where you can add the most value, and then charge accordingly. The mere fact that if a client is on your books and they have access to you, that is value. So don't just charge them for a deliverable, because if they've got access to ask you a question anytime that they want, to give you a call, to give you an email, no matter how infrequently that might be, the ability to do that when they have a problem, that is value. And we should be charging for that on a monthly basis for that access to us, because that is hugely valuable. If you have access to an expert that you can ask to get an answer to your question and a solution to your problem straight away within 5 minutes, then that is definitely worth paying for. We undervalue ourselves. We don't believe we've got, and that's kind of the root cause. We don't believe we've got that much value unless we're doing something which is on a piece of paper, then it's not valuable. Yeah. It definitely is. It's hugely valuable. And they get, people accountants feel ashamed that how can I charge $1,000 for something that takes me 5 minutes? What you fail to realize is that if you can do something in 5 minutes, it's taking you 20 years to do it in 5 minutes. The client owes you for the years, not the minutes.
I literally 100%, 1,000% agree on that exactly. I always say time is worthless. Who cares about time? It's when you go to someone, if you go to a contractor and you're building a house and you ask them, hey, give me an estimate on how much this is going to cost. And they'll come back and say $100,000. And then you'll go and be like, oh, that's too much. And you'll go find someone that does it for $60,000. You're missing the fact that the person who's charging $100,000 is going to do it right the first time, and they're going to do it to last because they've done it so many times and they know exactly what to do and what not to do. And when you go budget shopping and you sign up for the person who's going to do a $100,000 job for $60,000, it'll cost you twice as much and twice as much of the headache. And having an understanding of that, especially with the accounting, I think you hit it right on the head, is accountants undervalue themselves. And I don't know why. Accountants are some of the most brilliant, smart people, and you're doing things that you need a certification to do. You need to pass tests. You need to do everything that you need to do to be certified to provide that value. But there are so many accountants that are just insecure about what they provide and the value that they provide, and they're scared to charge $1,000, let alone $10,000 for clients, even though the clients will not be able to operate without them. It's such a unique thing for accountants. And it sounds like it's a mission of the both of ours to try and help the industry as a whole.
Buy cheap, buy twice, right?
Yeah.
And we're changing lives. We're helping clients to get to where they want to get to achieve their goals, to achieve their freedom. And we can do that through helping them through business, to managing their finances, to do that because they don't have the skill set, the know-how, the expertise in order to be able to do what we do. So we are literally changing lives, and we don't value that enough. And on the time point, people don't care about costs or effort. You don't get rewarded for effort. You get rewarded for result. Mm-hmm. And that's the same for anything. There is no correlation between time and price. There is only a correlation between price and value. So the only thing happening in our minds when we buy anything is the price I am paying less than the value I am getting? And that is subjective to every person. If I feel the value I'm getting is greater, I will buy. It's got nothing to do with how long it's taken that supplier or what the costs of the supplier are to put that thing together. When you go to buy a t-shirt or a pair of sneakers from the shops, you're not thinking about, right, okay, well, the cost of the leather is this, and the direct cost of the labor to put it together is Y, and the overhead markup is this. Therefore, I'm only going to pay $50 for those sneakers. You look at the price and you make a judgment in your mind: is that price less than the value? And if it is, I buy. If not, I don't. Same with your, buying a cup of coffee in Starbucks. You're not going in there working out the cost of the coffee beans, the cost of the mill, direct cost of the labor, apportionment of the overhead, and acceptable 20% markup. I'm only going to pay $1.50 for my latte. You don't do that. You go in, you look at the price and see, does that reflect value for money for me or not? If it does, I buy it. If not, I walk out and I go to Walmart or something and buy some, instant coffee to make myself at home. It's subjective. Right?
Yeah. So I'm a car guy. I love cars. Ever since I was a kid, I always loved BMW M3. But when I started shopping for my first car that was like I was going to buy, right? I was like, all right, I had a big boy job, just got my job at Boeing, and I was like, I need to buy a car. I'm going to go check out the Audi. And I went and looked at the Audi because the BMW, it was still my goal. I was like, I'm not there yet. So I went and looked at the Audi, and I remember having a conversation with the manager. The manager was like, we usually charge a markup on this specific car. And I said, I'm not going to pay a markup. He goes, well, I'll give it to you for MSRP. And I said, I'm not going to pay list price. Everyone knows when you go buy a car, you get some sort of negotiation. And we're not talking COVID times, right? We're talking, back in 2011, 2010. And I'm like, I need something on the car. And the guy goes, no, you're not going to do that. I'm not going to give you anything. And I said, well, that car's not worth it. And he goes, that car is worth it. That's why it's priced that way. And I told him, and I just graduated with finance and accounting, and I, was feeling all smart. And I told him, what you set the price at is not what the car is worth. It's what the consumer is willing to pay. That is what the car is worth.
Yep.
And the guy goes, if that's how you think, you're never going to buy a car from me. And I said, you are absolutely right. I am never going to buy a car from you. And I walked out of the dealership and I went down the street and I bought my first BMW, my 5 Series. And the manager that sold me the 5 Series calls the manager at the Audi dealership and he goes, this is the guy that you let walk away. He just bought, this, our expensive car. And I was like, man, and that principle is true, right? What people think you can charge for something is different than what people think they can pay for it or think they will pay for it. And the willingness to pay goes to the value that someone attaches to that service. For me, I don't want to go to jail because my taxes aren't filed correctly. I don't want to have to pay a massive fine because I decided to use TurboTax myself and cheap out on not having a solid accountant that runs every single thing for me. So my value that I attach to my personal account that I've had since, forever, everyone has their person that they can call, text, email, and they know that they're going to be there. And it's the worth that is, peace of mind,
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's huge. I'm with you. I love BMWs too.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. Yeah, you're like my M8 I have at the moment. It's a beast.
Nice. Yeah. So I had them 3. My brother just got an M5 competition and he's absolutely in love with it. Yeah. I love that, mate.
On that point of prices, it's all relative to value and willingness to pay. It's that's all it is. And that's what it boils down to. Even when, people charge by the hour, ultimately, it's all just, it's smokes and mirrors. Even the big firms, you do your timesheets, you clock your time, you see what's on the ledger, and then you get to the point where you need to, now bill the client at month end. You have a look at it and think, I'm not sure the client's going to pay that, so I'm going to write off an amount and charge them this instead. Or you look at it and say, actually, I could get a bit more from this client, so I add it on. Ultimately, what you're doing, you're trying to figure out what the client's willing to pay, and that's what you were charging them. So why not do away with the whole time charging and time recording, all that kind of stuff, and work out from the beginning, what is the deliverable, what is the charge for it, get the agreement of what the client's willing to pay at the outset, and then start work, rather than all this kerfuffle with time recording, which doesn't really land in the context of what the client wants to pay or willing to pay for whatever you've set out. And that's all dependent upon how you've communicated your value. So that's a big thing that accountants need to understand and get better really at communicating the value of what they deliver and what they provide to clients. And only then can they get higher prices for what they do.
And that's super key because, well, for many reasons, but one of the biggest reasons is when you look at what you're providing for your clients and calling advisory services. When I speak to an accountant and I ask them, do you do advisory services? They say yes. My next question always, how do you price your services? Are you on monthly retainer or hourly? If they answer hourly, I say, you are not doing advisory services. You may think you are. You may believe in some level that you are providing irreplaceable advisory services for your clients. But I promise you, if you are charging hourly, I don't care if your hourly rate is $1,000 an hour, you're not doing advisory services. Advisory is monthly retainer billing. It's such a weird thing to try and explain to someone, and they're like, no, I'm hourly. And I'm like, you're a commodity. If you're charging hourly, you're a commodity. And if you're charging retainer, you're actually doing advisory. It's such a difference.
Absolutely. Definitely.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess it depends on, maybe this, this advisory topic, how do you define advisory? In my mind, I like to see it as, I have kind of three main boxes of how accountants operate, and most of them are just doing compliance. That's kind of the bottom end, the basics, which is okay. We are fortunate that we have a business model which requires business owners to use us to get stuff done. So we don't have to worry about having to sell ourselves every year, providing you don't make a pig's ear of it. The client will come back again next year. So it's quite a fortunate business model that we have, that we have this compliance, this legal obligation to get stuff done every single year that we can use to attract clients and keep clients. So compliance is one. And then you move up a level to say, okay, compliance is fine, but there's only so much value you can provide in compliance because essentially you're just reporting on history. Then the next level up is financial advisory. So I split advisory into two, financial advisory and business advisory. Financial advisory is essentially the CFO type services, the managing the finance function. And we can do that a lot more effectively now with cloud technology, with software that in real time, we can manage the client's full finance function, give them Xero, QuickBooks, all the additional apps that add on to that, so that small business owners don't need to recruit a team in-house to manage their books, to give them the reports, to have an FD opine on things and help them through the course of their journey, because we can do that much more cost effectively. So that is a huge value add for businesses, that financial advisor looking after their finance function. And then the next level up is business advisory. This is where, in my mind, what I see as business advisory is the kind of the strategic stuff where you're actually helping the owner get their business to where they want to get to. So, this is where you're kind of working with them, you're coaching them, you're giving them accountability, you are helping them, set KPIs and things like that, and helping them along their route to get their business to a point wherever they want to get to, and exit to give them the life, the freedom that they want. So that's how, and we can play all of those roles. We don't have to do business advisory. We can kind of stay in financial advisory if you feel more comfortable, because there's a different skill set involved. So for example, in my firm, predominantly we do financial advisory. And the reason being is that my team of accountants, they can do the financial advisory stuff because as accountants, we have a lot of knowledge, we have a lot of expertise. So we're very good at answering questions. Client asks us a question, we can answer it. We know the answer to it in terms of, okay, why has this gone down? What's the loophole here? Or how do I get this kind of relief? How do I save tax? We can answer questions, no problem at all. Business advisory is a different skill set. And it's more of a coaching skill set. It's more about asking the right questions to help the business owner come up with the ideas and the answers to help them get from where they are to where they want to get to. So it's a different skill set. And most accountants don't have that. But as the business owner, so if you are a business owner, if you're the practice owner, you can absolutely do this. Yes, you could train people to do it, but it's a much harder skill set. So yeah, it's and much more lucrative. And this is something where ideally, this is what you want to be able to do, is to recruit a team of accountants that can handle the compliance, the financial advisory, freeing up your time so you can do the business advisory stuff. That's where the real high value service is, and that's where you can charge the premium fee.
I love that distinction between the business advisory and the financial advisory. And I bucket it as technical finance versus business finance. And the technical finance, like, not everyone can build a model, right? I've built thousands of financial models, P&Ls, balance sheets, cash flow forecasts, all that kind of stuff, from all my time running an outsourced CFO firm to being the CFO of a startup. And it's very unique to know how to build a financial model. And everyone builds a financial model in their own way. And trying to explain it if I handed my financial models to other people, they'll look at them like, oh, what does this mean? How do I even do this? And the explanation of that is the business advisory for how I look at it. And it's this is what the numbers mean. This is where we're going. This is where we're heading. And that's what we do with our firms, right? All of our partners, right? Clockwork does the technical finance because that can be automated. That's why this year, everyone's dubbing 2024 as the year of AI. And that's why technical finance, technical stuff should be leveraged. If you're not using AI, you'll be beaten by someone who is. And AI is not going to replace anyone, especially accountants. And way too many people are so scared of AI. I get asked so many times I'm scared of AI. Should I be scared of AI? I'm using one of the funniest things. They said, I'm using OpenAI for my finance stuff. And I'm like, what in the mother, or why are you using OpenAI? What the hell does OpenAI know anything about finance or accounting or anything? And they're paying for ChatGPT to do accounting and finance advice for them. And I'm like, stop doing that immediately. and be a lot smarter about what type of AI, and don't buy into the hype of what you think you should be doing.
Yeah. No, definitely. No, I agree with you. AI is never going to replace us because we are in the people business at the end of the day, and clients will always want to speak to somebody given the nature of what we do. We're in the relationship business. But, we need to leverage AI so that we can do things smarter, much more efficiently, to free up our time to actually spend with clients doing the advisory stuff and being there to help them to answer the questions, because that's where the real value lies.
I absolutely love it. Well, thank you, Reza. We have like a minute left. Where can people find you? How can people, check out what you're doing? I absolutely love everything that you're doing. So I think it's super valuable for everyone else too as well.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm quite active on LinkedIn, so feel free to connect with me there. You obviously listen to a podcast, so I have a podcast as well called the Profitable Accountant Podcast, which you can find on all platforms. So feel free to subscribe and follow the podcast. So yeah, LinkedIn or podcast. I have a book which I released last year for accounting firm owners. It's called The 4 Pillars: How to Build an Accounting Firm That Gives You Time, Money, and Freedom. And if you check out my LinkedIn profile, there is a link where you can get access to that for free.
Thank you so much, my friend. This has been an absolute blast. So thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in to the Real Slim Fatty Show again. And we will catch you next time.